Captain Lisa Morgan stood on the bridge of her ship Venture and looked at the empty space ahead. The void sector was supposed to be nothing but darkness and cosmic dust. No planets, no stars, nothing worth exploring. That was what every map in the galaxy said. That was what the Galactic Council told everyone for 50 years. But Lisa had always been curious about empty spaces. She believed that empty meant unexplored, not useless. Her crew thought she was crazy for bringing them out. Here, the fuel costs alone would make their superiors angry. Still, something felt wrong about a completely empty region of space this size. Dr. Amy Rodriguez walked up to Lisa with a worried look on her face. Amy was the smartest person Lisa knew. She could figure out any technology and solve problems that made other scientists give up. Right now, Amy looked confused and excited at the same time. "Captain, you need to see this," Amy said quietly. "My sensors are picking up something massive ahead. The readings don't make sense." Lisa followed Amy to the science station. The screen showed readings that seemed impossible. There were objects out there, huge objects, but they were not giving off any energy signatures that normal planets would show. They were perfectly hidden from long-range scans. "How big are we talking?" Lisa asked. Amy pointed at the numbers on her screen. "Each object is roughly the size of a small planet. There are at least 12 of them in formation. But, Captain, planets don't arrange themselves in perfect geometric patterns." Lisa felt her heart start beating faster. This could be the discovery of a lifetime, or it could be very dangerous. She had heard stories about ancient alien weapons floating in space, waiting for someone foolish enough to wake them up. "Take us closer, but keep our distance," Lisa ordered. "I want full scans on everything." As the Venture moved forward, more details became clear. The objects were not natural planets. They had smooth surfaces with patterns that looked like they were built by someone. Giant metal structures covered each sphere. What looked like docking bays and antenna arrays covered the surfaces. "My God," Amy whispered. "These are ships, planet-sized ships." The bridge became very quiet. Everyone stared at the main screen showing the massive vessels. Lisa had seen the biggest ships the galaxy had to offer. The Council's flagship was considered huge at 10 kilometers long. These things were thousands of times bigger. "Any signs of life?" Lisa asked. Amy checked her instruments carefully. "No active energy signatures, no communications, no movement. They appear to be completely dead. But, Captain, the metal they are made from is not in our databases. The construction methods are beyond anything I have ever seen." Lisa made a decision that would change everything. "We're going aboard one of them. Prepare a shuttle and an away team." 2 hours later, Lisa stood in the shuttle bay with Amy and 3 security officers. They wore full environmental suits because they had no idea what the atmosphere would be like inside the alien vessels. The shuttle carried every scanning device they had. The closest planet ship had what looked like a docking bay near its equator. As their shuttle approached, massive doors opened automatically. Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. The ship was reacting to their presence. Inside, the docking bay was enormous. It could have held 1,000 shuttles the size of theirs. Emergency lighting came on as they landed, filling the space with a soft blue glow. The bay had atmosphere that was safe for humans to breathe. "This is impossible," Amy said as they stepped out of the shuttle. "These systems have been dormant, but they are responding to us perfectly. The atmosphere mix is exactly what humans need." They walked through corridors that were built for beings roughly human-sized. The walls were covered with symbols that seemed familiar but were not in any language Lisa recognized. Every surface was clean and undamaged, as if the ship had been built yesterday. In what appeared to be a control room, Amy found working computer terminals. When she touched one, it activated immediately and began displaying information in symbols that slowly changed into English letters. "Captain, this is reading my brain somehow," Amy said with wonder in her voice. "It is learning our language in real time." Lisa watched as the alien text became more and more readable. Soon, complete sentences appeared on the screen. What she read made her step back in shock. "Welcome home, children of Earth. The long sleep is ending. Your inheritance awaits." Amy looked at Lisa with wide eyes. "Captain, these ships know about Earth. They know about humans. But how is that possible? We only reached space 200 years ago." Before Lisa could answer, every screen in the room lit up with the same message. Then new words appeared that made Lisa's blood run cold. "Warning, the Devourers approach. Awaken the fleet. Remember who you were." The ship began to hum with energy. Lights came on throughout the vessel. In the distance, they could hear the sound of massive systems starting up after what must have been thousands of years of silence. Lisa knew they had found something that would change humanity's place in the galaxy forever, but she also knew they might have awakened something that was better left sleeping. As she looked at Amy's excited face and thought about the implications of their discovery, one question kept running through her mind. If these ships belonged to humans, where were the humans who built them? 3 days after the discovery, the Venture was no longer alone in the Void sector. Ships from across the galaxy had arrived after Lisa sent her report to the Galactic Council. The news that humans had found planet-sized vessels had spread like wildfire through every civilization. Commander Kate Sullivan arrived first with a military escort from Earth. Kate was known for her strategic mind and her ability to keep calm under pressure. She did not trust aliens easily, especially when they showed sudden interest in human discoveries. "Captain Morgan, what is the current situation?" Kate asked as she stepped onto the Venture's bridge. "We have accessed 3 more ships," Lisa replied. "Each one responds to human presence the same way. Dr. Rodriguez believes there might be hundreds more scattered throughout this sector." Kate nodded and looked at the main screen showing the massive vessels. "And our alien friends? What do they want?" As if summoned by Kate's question, an elegant figure materialized on the bridge through the ship's holographic communicator. Zara Lynn was an elven ambassador, tall and graceful with the pointed ears and ageless beauty her species was known for. Her expression showed barely hidden irritation. "Commander Sullivan, Captain Morgan," Zara Lynn said with a voice like music. "The Galactic Council demands full access to these vessels. Humanity cannot be trusted with technology of this magnitude." "These ships respond only to humans," Lisa said firmly. "Every alien team that has tried to board them gets locked out by the security systems." Zara Lynn's eyes flashed with anger. "Impossible. Humans are a young species. You have been in space for barely 2 centuries. These vessels are clearly ancient beyond measure." Before anyone could respond, another hologram appeared. Veltara was a crystalline being from the hegemony, the most advanced civilization in the galaxy. Her species communicated through light patterns that ran across their transparent bodies. When she spoke, her voice sounded like wind chimes. "The Council has decided," Veltara announced. "All alien vessels in this sector must submit to joint command. We cannot allow primitive humans to control such powerful artifacts." Kate stepped forward with a cold smile. "Primitive? Our primitive humans just discovered something your advanced civilizations missed completely. Maybe you should reconsider who is actually primitive here." The tension in the room was interrupted when Amy rushed onto the bridge with excitement written all over her face. Behind her came Chief Engineer Mia Torres, a small woman with grease-stained hands and brilliant eyes. "Captain, you have to see what we found," Amy said breathlessly. "Mia managed to activate the ship's main database. The information inside is incredible." Mia nodded enthusiastically. "These ships have star maps that show the entire galaxy from thousands of years ago. But here is the strange part. Earth is marked as the center of a massive empire that controlled most of known space." Zara Lynn laughed, a sound like silver bells. "Ridiculous. Humans were primitive cave dwellers thousands of years ago. Everyone knows this." "That is what we thought too," Amy said. "But the evidence is right here. These ships contain genetic scanners that recognize human DNA patterns. They will not respond to any other species. The computers are programmed to teach humans how to operate systems that are more advanced than anything the current galaxy has ever seen." Veltara's light patterns shifted to angry red colors. "This must be some kind of trick. The hegemony has ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. There is no record of any human empire." "Maybe your records are wrong," Kate said quietly. "Or maybe someone made sure those records disappeared." Over the next few hours, more discoveries emerged that shook everyone's understanding of galactic history. The ship's computers revealed that humans had once built a civilization that spanned thousands of star systems. They had created technologies that could move planets and reshape stars. But something had happened to them, something terrible that had forced the survivors to hide and forget their own history. Dr. Rodriguez found files that mentioned an ancient enemy called the Devourers. The records were fragmented, but they spoke of machines that consumed entire civilizations and turned them into more machines. The human empire had built these planet ships as a last desperate attempt to preserve their people and knowledge. The ships were designed to sleep until humanity was ready to reclaim their heritage, Amy explained to the growing crowd of humans and aliens in the briefing room. The computers have been waiting for humans to advance enough to find them. Nixira, a serpentine alien scientist who had arrived with the latest wave of researchers, raised her elegant head. If this is true, then we have all underestimated humanity's potential. But it also means we face a threat that destroyed the most advanced civilization the galaxy has ever known. Zaralyn was quiet for a long moment, her perfect features showing deep thought. Finally, she spoke. The Elven archives contain legends of a great disaster that happened long ago. We always thought they were myths, but they speak of the first people who ruled the stars before the darkness came. As if responding to their conversation, every screen in the room lit up with new information. Star charts appeared showing the current positions of more planet ships throughout the galaxy. There were hundreds of them, maybe thousands, all waiting to be awakened by human crews. But the most shocking revelation came last. The computers showed that modern humans were not just descendants of the ancient empire. They were the sleeping survivors, their memories and abilities locked away by their own ancestors to protect them from the returning devourers. The genetic locks are breaking down, Mia reported with wonder in her voice. As more ships activate, humans who board them are starting to remember things they never learned. Some are developing abilities that should be impossible. Commander, Sullivan looked at the assembled group of humans and aliens. So we are not just discovering ancient technology, we are discovering ourselves. The meeting was interrupted by alarms throughout the ship. Lisa rushed to the nearest console, and her face went pale as she read the incoming reports. Long range. Sensors are detecting movement at the edge of the galaxy, she announced. Something big is coming our way. Multiple signatures, each one the size of a moon. Veltara's crystalline body flashed with patterns of fear. The Devourers, they have sensed the awakening of the ancient ships. Zaralyn turned to Kate with a new respect in her ancient eyes. Commander Sullivan, it appears we will need each other more than we thought. The galaxy is about to face a threat that destroyed the greatest civilization in history. Kate nodded grimly as she watched the approaching signals on the display. Then we better start learning how to use these ships. Quickly. Something tells me we are going to need every advantage we can get. Admiral Grace Parker arrived in the Void Sector with the largest fleet Earth had ever assembled. 30 ships followed her flagship, each one carrying the best scientists and engineers humanity could provide. Grace had spent 40 years in space and had never seen anything that prepared her for the sight of planet-sized vessels floating in perfect formation. Dr. Rodriguez, give me a full report, Grace said as she stepped into the command center that had been established aboard the largest ancient ship. The vessel had become a hub of activity as humans worked frantically to understand their inheritance. Amy looked exhausted but excited. She had not slept in days as new discoveries kept emerging from the ship's vast databases. Admiral, we have accessed the historical archives. What we found changes everything we thought we knew about human history. She activated a holographic display that showed the galaxy as it existed thousands of years ago. Instead of the current alien empires, vast regions were marked with human symbols. Earth glowed at the center of a network that connected thousands of star systems. This is the human commonwealth, Amy explained. At its peak, it controlled 60% of the galaxy. They had technology that could create artificial stars, move entire planets, and travel between galaxies in days. Dr. Nina Clark, a historian who had joined the expedition, stepped forward with ancient documents displayed on her tablet. The archives contained detailed records of human achievements. They created art forms using living starlight, built cities that existed in multiple dimensions at once, and developed medical technology that could extend life for thousands of years. Grace studied the displays with growing amazement. What happened to them? How did such an advanced civilization disappear so completely? The Devourers, Nina said quietly. The records describe them as self-replicating machines created by a species that no longer exists. They consume all forms of life and technology, converting everything into more Devourers. They had already destroyed dozens of galaxies before. They reached ours. Lyra Thess, an elven mystic who had arrived with Zara Lynn, spoke in her soft musical voice. The elven archives now make sense. Our oldest legends speak of the time of silence, when the stars went dark across vast regions of space. We thought they were just stories, but they were memories of the Devourer invasion. Amy continued the explanation with a grim expression. The Commonwealth fought them for 300 years. Every weapon they created, every defense they built, the Devourers adapted and overcame. In the end, the humans realized they could not win through direct conflict. The holographic display changed to show the construction of the planet ships. Massive industrial complexes worked for decades to build hundreds of these vessels. Each one was designed to preserve human civilization and wait for the right moment to restore it. The final plan was brilliant and desperate, Nina said. They would hide the majority of human survivors on hidden worlds with their memories altered. The planet ships would remain dormant until humanity naturally developed space travel again. Only then would the genetic locks release and allow humans to reclaim their heritage. Grace felt a chill as she understood the implications. They sacrificed their entire civilization to give their descendants a chance to fight back when the Devourers returned. And they are returning, Veltara said as she entered the command center. The crystalline aliens' light patterns showed deep concern. My people's long-range sensors confirm it. The signatures match descriptions in the ancient databases. Dozens of Devourer scout fleets are approaching from beyond the galactic rim. Commander Sullivan, who had been silent during the briefing, finally spoke. How long do we have? Based on their current speed, approximately 18 months before. The first scouts reach inhabited systems, Veltara replied. The main fleet will arrive within 5 years. Zara Lynn stepped forward with a determined expression. The Galactic Council must be informed immediately. Every civilization needs to prepare for war. They will not believe us, Lyra Thess said sadly. The Council views humans as a minor species. They will dismiss this as human fantasy designed to gain power. Grace looked around the room at the mix of humans and aliens who had become unlikely allies. Then we make them believe. Dr. Rodriguez, how many planet ships have we activated so far? 17 are fully operational, with another 30 responding to human crews. Each ship is more powerful than the entire hegemony fleet combined. Good. We are going to demonstrate exactly what humans are capable of, Grace said with a fierce smile. Commander Sullivan, prepare a battle group. We are going to visit every major alien homeworld and show them what is coming. Over the following weeks, human-controlled planet ships appeared in orbit around the capitals of major alien civilizations. The sight of vessels that dwarfed entire space stations sent shockwaves through galactic society. When humans demonstrated the ability to move asteroids with thought alone and create energy barriers around entire planets, the skepticism began to fade. Helen Barnes, a young engineer who had shown remarkable aptitude for interfacing with the ancient systems, became the first human to fully merge consciousness with a planet ship. The experience unlocked genetic memories that had been dormant for millennia. I can see it all, Helen said with tears streaming down her face. The Commonwealth, the great cities among the stars, the desperate final battle. And something else, the Devourers are not just machines. They were once organic beings who gave up their humanity to become perfect predators. The revelation that the Devourers had once been biological creatures like themselves added new urgency to humanity's mission. If organic life could be corrupted and transformed, then every species in the galaxy was at risk. Zara Lynn found herself working closely with human crews as more elven ships joined the growing alliance. I was wrong about your species, she admitted to Grace during a strategy meeting. We all were. The elves have guarded fragments of human artifacts for thousands of years without realizing what they were. We thought we were preserving ancient curiosities, but we were actually protecting the keys to galactic salvation. The breakthrough came when Amy discovered that the planet ships could link their consciousness networks together. When multiple vessels connected, their combined processing power allowed them to simulate different battle strategies against the approaching devourers. The ancient humans learned from their defeat, Amy reported excitedly. They built these ships with adaptable AI systems that can evolve countermeasures faster than the devourers can adapt. But it requires human minds to guide the process. As news of the devourer threat spread, alien civilizations began to split into different factions. Some, led by the hegemony, refused to accept human leadership and demanded control over the planet ships. Others, influenced by Zara Lynn and growing numbers of alien allies, recognized that humanity represented their best hope for survival. "We are running out of time for politics," Grace told the assembled fleet commanders, as reports arrived of the first Devourer scouts entering the outer systems. "Every day we waste arguing is a day the enemy uses to prepare. The ancient humans left us these tools for a reason. Now we need to prove we are worthy of using them." The moment of truth was approaching, and Grace knew that the next few months would determine whether the galaxy would stand united against the returning darkness, or fracture into competing factions that would fall one by one to an enemy that had already consumed entire galactic clusters. As she stood on the bridge of her planet ship and watched human crews working alongside aliens who had once dismissed them as primitives, Grace felt the weight of inherited responsibility. They were not just fighting for their own survival, but for the future of all organic life in the galaxy. Helen Barnes floated in the neural interface chamber of the planet ship Resilience, her consciousness merged with systems that spanned continents. The experience was overwhelming and beautiful at the same time. She could feel every sensor array, every weapon system, every life support mechanism as if they were parts of her own body. "Neural integration at 90%, reported Dr. Rodriguez from the monitoring station. "Helen, how do you feel?" "Like I am remembering a dream," Helen replied, her voice echoing through the ship's communication systems. "I can see the memories of the engineers who built this vessel. They knew exactly what they were creating. Not just a weapon, but a living extension of human will." Admiral Parker watched the readings with fascination and concern. In the 3 months since Helen had begun the full integration process, her abilities had grown beyond anything they had imagined possible. She could navigate the ship through hyperspace, using intuition alone, and operate weapon systems that required calculations no normal human mind could handle. "Status report on the other awakened ships?" Grace asked. Commander Sullivan consulted her data pad. 47 planet ships are now fully operational with human crews. Another 112 are partially active. We estimate there are over 300 more waiting to be discovered throughout the galaxy. The war room buzzed with activity as reports came in from across known space. The Devourer scouts had been more aggressive than anyone expected. 3 outer colonies had gone silent, their final transmissions showing massive geometric shapes descending from the sky. Veltara materialized as a hologram, her crystalline form flickering with urgent light patterns. "The Hegemony Council has made their decision. They refuse to acknowledge human authority over the ancient vessels. They are assembling their own fleet to claim the ships by force." "Fools," Zara Lynn said angrily as she entered the room. "Do they not understand that time is running out? My People's Scouts report that the main Devourer fleet has reached the galactic edge. They will arrive in less than 2 years. Grace felt the familiar weight of command decisions that could shape the future of civilization. "We cannot fight a war on 2 fronts. Either the hegemony joins us willingly, or we stop them from interfering with our preparations." Helen's voice echoed from the ship's speakers with an otherworldly quality. "Admiral, I am detecting something new in the neural networks. The planet ships are beginning to communicate with each other independently of our commands. They are forming a collective consciousness." The implications sent chills through everyone present. Amy rushed to her instruments and confirmed Helen's report. "Multiple ships are linking their processing cores. The network is growing exponentially with each new connection." "Is this dangerous?" Grace asked. "Could the ships decide they do not need human crews?" "No," Helen replied with certainty that surprised everyone. "The ships were designed to serve humanity, not replace us. But they are preparing for something. They know the Devourers better than we do, and they are getting ready for the final confrontation. A new voice interrupted the conversation as Cassandra, a winged alien from the airy worlds, landed gracefully in the center of the room. Her species resembled angels from human mythology, with feathered wings and faces of perfect beauty. She had been the first non-human to be accepted as a crew member on a human vessel. "The Airy Council sends greetings," Cassandra said in her melodic voice. "We offer our fleets and our loyalty to the human alliance. Our people remember the ancient songs that speak of the star builders who brought light to dark worlds. We know these songs speak of your ancestors." Grace felt a moment of hope. "Welcome, Cassandra. We need every ally we can get." The moment was shattered when alarms began sounding throughout the ship. Nyxira, the serpentine scientist, slithered quickly into the room with terror in her large eyes. "The hegemony fleet is approaching," she hissed. 200 ships, including their flagship Dominion. They are demanding immediate surrender of all human vessels. "Battle stations," Grace ordered calmly. "Helen, can you coordinate with the other planet ships?" "Already connected," Helen replied. 17 ships are moving into defensive positions. "Admiral, the ancient tactical programs are activating. These vessels remember how to fight." Through the ship's sensors, Grace watched as the massive hegemony fleet approached. Their ships were impressive by normal standards, but they looked like toys compared to the planet-sized vessels that humanity now commanded. Still, she hoped to avoid bloodshed if possible. "Open communications with the hegemony flagship," Grace ordered. The main screen lit up with the image of Supreme Commander Torvash, a crystalline being whose transparent body pulsed with patterns of arrogance and contempt. "Human Admiral, you will surrender control of the stolen vessels immediately. The hegemony has ruled this galaxy for 10,000 years. We will not be displaced by primitive newcomers." "Commander Torvash, those ships belong to humanity by right of inheritance," Grace replied firmly. "We are preparing to defend the galaxy against an enemy that threatens all life. Join us or stand aside." "Never," Torvash declared. "Fire on the human vessels. Disable them and prepare boarding parties." The hegemony fleet opened fire with everything they had. Massive energy beams and missile barrages that could destroy normal ships struck the planet vessels and simply dissipated against energy shields that had been designed to withstand star-level explosions. "Their weapons cannot penetrate our defenses," Helen reported with amazement in her voice. "The ancient engineers built these ships to survive anything the galaxy could throw at them." "Return fire," Grace ordered reluctantly. "Minimal force. Disable their weapons but avoid casualties if possible." What happened next would be remembered as the moment when galactic power shifted forever. The planet ships fired precisely targeted beams that selectively destroyed weapon systems while leaving life support and engines intact. In less than 5 minutes, the entire hegemony fleet was helpless. "Impossible," Torvash whispered as his flagship drifted powerless. "Our shields are rated to stop any known weapon." "Your technology is 10,000 years old," Grace replied. "Ours is 50,000 years old and designed by beings who conquered galaxies. Commander Torvash, the offer still stands. Join us against the real enemy, or watch from the sidelines as we save your civilization." The demonstration had its intended effect. Within hours, reports arrived that alien fleets throughout the galaxy were standing down and requesting alliance with humanity. The few remaining holdout civilizations reconsidered their positions when they realized that humans now commanded the most powerful force the galaxy had ever seen. But Helen brought disturbing news from the neural networks. "Admiral, the ship AIs are showing me projections of the coming battle. Even with all our advantages, the Devourers have had thousands of years to evolve and adapt. They are not the same enemy the Commonwealth faced." "What do you mean?" Grace asked. "They have learned to corrupt biological life forms and turn them into hybrid Devourer units. They no longer just destroy civilizations, they convert them, and they are specifically targeting the neural interface systems that allow humans to control the planet ships." The realization hit Grace like a physical blow. The Devourers were not just returning to continue their ancient war. They had spent millennia preparing specifically for the moment when humanity would reclaim their heritage. The enemy knew they were coming, and they were ready. As reports of the approaching main fleet grew more detailed and terrifying, Grace understood that the real war was about to begin. Everything they had accomplished so far was just preparation for a conflict that would determine whether organic life would survive in the galaxy or be consumed and transformed into something unrecognizable. The ancient humans had given their descendants the tools for victory, but success was far from guaranteed. The final test of human determination and ingenuity was approaching, and failure would mean the end of everything they held dear. President Maria Santos stood in the newly constructed command center on Earth, watching displays that showed the positions of over 200 activated planet ships throughout the galaxy. 6 months had passed since the hegemony surrender, and humanity had used every moment to prepare for the final battle against the Devourers. Fleet Admiral Wright, status report, Maria said to the woman who now commanded the largest military force in galactic history. Lucy Wright had risen from a simple ship captain to admiral of the awakened fleet in less than a year. The responsibility showed in her eyes, but her voice remained steady and confident. All planet ships are linked into the neural network. We have crews from 47 different species working alongside human operators. The ships report ready for combat. The diversity of the Alliance still amazed Maria. When humanity had demonstrated their control over technology that could reshape star systems, the political landscape of the galaxy had changed overnight. Species that had ignored Earth for decades were now eager to join the human-led coalition. Captain Morgan, promoted to Fleet Admiral of Exploration Forces, entered the command center with urgent news. Madam President, long-range sensors have detected the Devourer main fleet. They will reach the outer defensive line in 18 hours. Maria felt her stomach tighten. Despite all their preparations, they still did not know if they were strong enough to defeat an enemy that had consumed multiple galaxies. Admiral Wright, begin final preparations. In orbit around Earth, Helen Barnes floated in the neural interface chamber of the flagship Defiance. Her consciousness was now permanently linked to the planet ship network, making her more than human, but still fundamentally connected to her species. Through the neural web, she could feel the thoughts and emotions of every human crew member. Across the fleet. Network integration complete, Helen reported, her voice reaching every ship simultaneously. All vessels are responding to collective tactical commands. The AI cores have finished analyzing Devourer behavioral patterns from the ancient databases. Zara Lynn stood on the bridge of the Defiance alongside human officers, a sight that would have been impossible just months earlier. The Elven ambassador had become one of humanity's strongest allies, using her influence to bring dozens of species into the coalition. The outer sensor stations report massive energy signatures approaching, Zara Lynn announced. The Devourers are not attempting stealth. They want us to see them coming. On the main display, the approaching enemy fleet appeared as a swarm of geometric shapes that hurt to look at directly. Each Devourer vessel was a perfect mathematical form designed for maximum efficiency in converting matter and energy. Behind them came larger constructs that defied easy description, massive fusion, beings that had once been entire civilizations absorbed and transformed. "Dear God," whispered Dr. Rodriguez from her position at the science station. "The lead ships are each the size of moons, and there are thousands of them." Helen's voice carried across the network with inhuman calm. "All ships, remember the lessons of our ancestors. The Devourers adapt to direct confrontation. We must use tactics they cannot predict or counter." The battle began when the two fleets met at the edge of the Centaurus sector. The Devourers attacked with weapons that converted matter into pure energy and beams that could rewrite the atomic structure of their targets. But the planet ships had been designed to withstand such attacks, their shields powered by artificial stars contained within their cores. "Evasive patterns," Lucy commanded. "Do not let them establish target locks." The planet ships moved with grace that seemed impossible for objects of their size. They danced between enemy formations, their weapons striking with surgical precision. But for every Devourer ship destroyed, 2 more seemed to take its place. "They are adapting faster than projected," Helen reported with concern. "Enemy vessels are modifying their shields to counter our weapons. We need to change tactics immediately." Veltara, now serving as liaison from the reformed hegemony forces, offered a new strategy. "The crystalline research cores have identified a weakness. The Devourers cannot adapt to weapons that exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. "Activate dimensional phase cannons," Lucy ordered. The planet ships unleashed weapons that fired through folded space, striking targets from angles that existed outside normal reality. The effect was devastating. Devourer vessels began exploding as their adaptive systems failed to comprehend attacks that came from dimensions they could not perceive. But the enemy's response was swift and terrifying. The largest Devourer constructs began broadcasting signals that reached across space to affect the neural networks linking the human fleet. "They are trying to corrupt the ship AIs," Helen gasped as pain shot through the network. "Some of the vessels are fighting internal battles against viral intrusion programs." Cassandra, coordinating the alien support fleets, watched in horror as several ships began turning their weapons on their own allies. "The network is compromised. We are losing ships to enemy control." Helen made a decision that would define the battle's outcome. She severed the neural connections between compromised vessels and the main network, isolating the infected ships to prevent the corruption from spreading. The action saved the fleet, but left her exposed to direct Devourer. "Mental attacks. Helen, disconnect from the network," Amy pleaded over the communication system. "You cannot survive direct interface with their corruption programs." "Negative," Helen replied with determination. "Someone has to coordinate the fleet, and I am the only one who can resist their intrusion attempts long enough to matter." The final phase of the battle became a contest of wills between Helen's human consciousness and the collective intelligence of the Devourer swarm. While she held their attention, the planet ships executed a strategy that the ancient Commonwealth had died before they could implement. "All ships, initiate the convergence protocol," Lucy commanded. The planet ships began linking together in ways that went beyond simple networking. Their hulls physically connected, forming massive geometric patterns that spanned light years. The combined vessel became something greater than the sum of its parts, a weapon system capable of manipulating space and time itself. "Firing the reality engine," Helen announced, as the linked ships charged a weapon that drew power from the quantum foam of empty space itself. The beam that emerged from the combined fleet did not simply destroy the Devourer vessels. It rewrote the fundamental laws of physics in the region where they existed, making their adaptive technology useless because the rules they tried to adapt to no longer applied. In minutes, the seemingly unstoppable Devourer fleet was reduced to scattered debris floating in altered space. The few surviving enemy vessels fled toward the galactic edge, their transmissions indicating they would not return. "The network is clear," Helen reported weakly as the planet ships began separating. "Enemy corruption programs have been purged. All ships report operational status." The aftermath of the victory brought changes that reshaped galactic civilization. With the Devourer threat eliminated, humanity found itself acknowledged as the dominant species in the galaxy. But unlike the ancient Commonwealth, they chose to share their power rather than hoard it. "The new Galactic Council will meet on Earth," President Santos announced to representatives from hundreds of species. "But leadership will be shared among all member civilizations. We have learned that cooperation is stronger than domination." Zara Lynn, now serving as Earth's first alien ambassador, worked to establish treaties that would prevent future conflicts. "The humans have shown us that true strength comes not from controlling others, but from inspiring them to be their best selves." In the months that followed, exploration fleets equipped with planet ship technology began mapping regions beyond the galaxy. They discovered that the Devourers had been fleeing from something even more powerful, entities that existed in higher dimensional space, and viewed the destruction of organic life with concern. "We are not alone in the universe," Helen reported from her new role as humanity's interface with these cosmic guardians. "There are civilizations out there that make our ancient Commonwealth look primitive, and they have been waiting for someone worthy to contact them." The story ended where it began, with humanity reaching toward the unknown. But now they carried with them the wisdom of their ancestors, the friendship of their alien allies, and the knowledge that they were part of something much larger than any single species or galaxy. As Captain Morgan prepared to lead the first expedition beyond the galactic rim, she reflected on how much had changed since that day in the Void Sector when they had discovered their inheritance. Humanity had reclaimed their birthright and used it not for conquest, but for the betterment of all life in the galaxy. The age of the Devourers was over. The age of cooperation and exploration had begun. And somewhere among the stars, new challenges and wonders waited for the species that had proven themselves worthy of their ancient legacy.